Hello everyone, welcome to Amy's Bookshelf and welcome to my series wrap up for 2022. So I am filming this on the 30th and I have 2 days left, of which I'm also doing family time. So I don't think I'm going to finish any series off before then, which is a bit of a downer because I had really hoped to finish off one more series before the next year. But we will get into all of that. First, we're going to do a recap on the series that I was trying to read all year, and I honestly forgot about a good chunk of the time, but we're going to go through it one by one. So the first one is the Wizard of Oz series. Now, coming into this last year, I had, I think, 7 or 8 that I needed to read, maybe even 9, but I have managed to finish all of them. I finished off the last one that's written by L. Frank Baum, and I am ending it there. I never said I would go on. This book technically has one that's not by L. Frank Baum, but I'm calling this bind up my 5-book bind up complete. So happy for myself. I honestly didn't think I would get it done, and I blitzed through the last 3 in the Bahamas because I was like, I need to finish off this series if it kills me, and it works. All right, next one. The next one was the Magic Treehouse series, and I finished that one entirely. I am going to be reading the next book as soon as I can when it comes out. I really enjoy reading that series, but I read all the way up to the final book, which was The Snow Leopard, Light on the Snow Leopard, I think. I really enjoyed the whole reading experience, and I'm excited to read more as they come out. The next one was Cities of Refuge, and I did not pick up any of those books from that series. I have 2 left. I still have 2 left. That's a priority going forward. But yeah, we'll see. Another series that I've tried to read for years is the Bourne series. So Jason Bourne. I only planned on reading the first 3. So that would be Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, and Bourne Ultimatum. However, I tried to read the Bourne Supremacy twice. I started it 2 times, and both times I was like, this is just not sitting well with me. I just didn't like, I don't know where it was going, and how intense it was or how it was written or something about it. So I ended up DNFing that series. I've only finished the Identity one, and I've unhauled all 3, or maybe just the last 2. But yeah, I'm not going to read any more of that series, and I'm glad I put it on the list so I could at least try to read it and find out it's not for me. The next one was Jurassic Park duology. So I did read Lost World. However, I've unhauled it because I didn't love it as much as this one. That one, I felt like it should have been a prequel to this as opposed to a sequel. And I definitely struggled to enjoy my time with it as much as I did this, but I did finish Lost World, and that was a great thing to finish off a duology. I was really proud of myself, honestly, for that. The next one is a series I came so close to, and I'm going to bring this book with me and hope I can finish it before the 31st ends. And that is the series of the Jane Austen series, which is by Deborah Whitesmith. So this is Jane Austen retellings. This is my last one left. This is Possibilities, which is based on Persuasion. I did read North Point Chalet, which is based on Northanger Abbey, but I am 1 book off. So that series officially is a fail, but it will not be a fail if I finish this within the next 48 hours. The next one was the Kilkenny trilogy, which I also DNF'd. I started reading the second one and I was like, you know what? I'm just not enjoying myself as much as I would want to. So that one has been DNF'd and unhauled. The next one was an Agatha Christie series, and I actually finished off 2 this year. So I kind of would like to replace one of my missing ones with this one, but we'll go over that one later. I finished the Tommy and Tuppence series. Now I can only find 1 of their books on my shelves, but I know I have all 5. And this is a series that honestly is not one of Agatha Christie's strongest, in my opinion. The books are some great ones and some not so great ones for me, but I am glad to have finished a Tommy and Tuppence series. And I feel like I ended it this year on a good note. I had the first 2 books in the series to last 2 to read. And I enjoyed those ones quite a bit. So I was glad to finish that, even though this is the worst book in the series. The next one was the Anne of Green Gables series, which I have read at one point, but I have not read since I was at least a teenager. So I managed to reread the whole series for the Anne Along, which was hosted by Emily from Novelle Novels. And it was quite an interesting reread. I enjoyed some of them a lot and some of them not so much. But yeah, interesting. And I am really happy that I've knocked that series off my list. I want to read more Ella Montgomery, but at least I have finished off the main series. That was my goal. The next one was the one book I want to try the series, One of Us is Lying, because I knew if I wouldn't put this on a list, I wouldn't have tried it. I did read it and it was okay for me, but I'm not going to read on anymore. I don't like the angst in YA drama or YA books, and that one definitely had the angst. So just not for me. I'm going to move on. All right, so now we're going to go over all of the series I officially finished in 2022. Now, these are not done in the order that I finished them, but they are, at least I don't think they are. No, they're not. But they are all books that I put on a Storygraph challenge. I think I'm going to make another Storygraph challenge so I can at least have a specific area that I track them in. I'll link that down below if anyone's interested. But I'm just doing it for my own benefit, and you're welcome to join me. So I only put in this thing the last book of every series, and in this thing I have 21 books. So I have 21 series that I finished and read the entirety of or finished off this year, and that's a pretty good number. Like I said, if I finish possibilities, I guess I'll have 22. I was really aiming for that 22 mark, and it didn't happen. All right, so the first book I have, or the first series, is the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So I did finish As Good as Dead. I loved that book. I loved the series. The next book that I read, or the next one on my list, is The Merriest Magnolia, which is book 2 in the Magnolia Sisters series. But I did read it last because my library didn't have it until I requested it, and I managed to read it after the fact. The third series I read was the Becky Wade Wait For Me series. I don't remember what that series was called in particular, but I think I'm up to date if there are more books coming, and if not, that's kind of where I'm at. So on this thing, I have books that are up to date and books of series that I have completely finished. Anyways, I finished all 3 books in that series, the last one being Turn to Me. Like I said, I finished Tommy and Tuppence, so the last book I read in that one was The Secret Adversary. I definitely read that book series in the opposite order that I should have. Oh well. I'm glad to end on a higher note because Postron of Fate is awful, in my opinion. Anyways, I read all of the books that are published by Hannah Jo Abbott in the Ranch series. I can't remember the name of it, but the last book I read was Match to the Cowboy, or Match for the Cowboy, and there was Courage for the Cowboy and Hope for the Cowboy. The next one will be coming out in February, so I'll be reading that one as soon as possible. I'm up to date in the graphic novel series of The Babysitters. So the last one was Jessie's Secret Language. Loving rereading that book series in graphic form. Next, I also finished the entire Bible, and I definitely put that in here. The Bible is a big book that has multiple books in it. It's technically a series, so I'm putting it in here. I did finish that this year. I also read all of the Hanger's Horseman series by Karen Whitmire, and the last book of that is In Honor's Defense. I read all of my other Agatha Christie series, which is Superintendent Battle. I have finished that series, and I'm quite happy with it. I don't think any of them were 5 stars for me. Well, maybe one is, but I really enjoyed the character of Superintendent Battle, and I enjoyed Towards Zero, I think, the most out of my most recent ones, because I got to see a lot more of him. You do see some of him in the first 2 books, but not as much in the middle 2 books, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I just got back literally 24 hours ago from a big trip, and I am tired still. And Christmas holidays are really officially starting for me because I was away for those Christmas days. But I did finish Superintendent Battle. I read the graphic novel series of Enola Holmes, which are the first 6 bind-ups, but they do technically include the 7th book in the Enola Holmes original written series. So there's that. I enjoyed them a lot, and I enjoyed rereading that series, even though I have read it all of 2022. Because you might as well go with that one next. I did read I finished the most current book of the Enola Holmes series. So I don't know when the next one's coming out. I should check into that. But I have read that entire series that's published up to this point. I have read this duology, which is the Covenant House duology. And so these are just 2 of them by Connellan Cosette. And they take place in 2 Samuel, biblical fiction, and really enjoyable. I thought this one was really gritty compared to some biblical fiction, but really impactful and really powerful, and I really enjoyed it. So yes, these 2 are done. Like I said, I finished off the entire Oz trilogy, or not trilogy, Oz series written by L. Frank Baum. I'm going to stipulate that I am not reading 30 plus books or whatever, however many there are in the Oz series, because I don't care. I think we're going to get into a little bit of my feelings on the Book of Oz, series of Oz. But I think that this series is it's like a downward spiral before quality. So the first few books are great and I really enjoy them. And then as the series went on, I started to really dislike reading them because they just felt so boring and so simple or over dramatic and overly done and overly written. And I just didn't like them. So I ended up just hate reading it, essentially. I did not hate any of the books, but I was committed and I forced myself to finish it. Yeah, there are several books where I was just so annoyed with the characters and the drama and meeting everybody every time that we never even cared about before the last chapter. It's just so annoying. But I do have some favorites from that series, and I am glad that I can mark that series off of my to-read list. I read all 3 books in the Maple Falls series, so I think I read the second 2 is ebooks, or ARCs, I should say. I have them as ARCs, and the first one I just got out of the library because I loved them so much. Small town romances were so good. Lost World was on there as the last book in the Jurassic Park series. Magic Treehouse, which I already talked about. I did include a book series on here that I stopped reading intentionally, so like I DNF'd the series, and that was the Molly Murphy series. I hate to say it, I don't like Molly's ethics, and I don't like certain characters and where that was going, and I just was unimpressed. So we moved on. I finished the, what's it called? Fire and Whirlwind series. I think the first one's called Fire, but these are based on Elijah's time. So these are biblical fiction, and they are set in the times of Elijah and Elisha. And I really enjoyed reading the second one. It came out December 5th, I believe. So really enjoyable to read that whole series and finish it up. And I will highly recommend that to anybody who's interested. I read the entirety of Peacock Hill romances. This series had 6 books, and I got them all on Kindle Unlimited except for the first one. Yeah, they were okay. Some of them were good, some of them were not as good, but I finished the series. So that's done. I finished the series of Redemption Ranch by Lee Tobin McLean. This series only has 3 books, but it was about family and relating to a certain ranch and people there. Yeah, cheesy little love-inspired, kind of like Harlequin romances. So did that. And then the last one I have to mention is The Chronicles of Narnia, which I finished off with the Narnia read-along hosted by Amy and Christine, and I'll link them both down below. Yeah, I really enjoyed rereading the series again. So that was my final one. That's what I have. Let's talk series goals for 2023. I know this is a bit of a long video, so I'll have a timestamp here. So if you jump to it, welcome to my goals. But we are going to talk about the goals I have for the upcoming year. Now, I don't have that many series goals because as I have a series shelf on Goodreads, I started to separate them from series I want to try and series I actually want to finish. And surprisingly, I have almost 200 series I want to try, and the rest were only series I want to finish. So I'm going to pull up that list and we'll talk through my top priorities from that. Sorry, it was 131 books on my want to try books. But anyways, so for series that I want to read and finish, I am first of all going to be reading any of the new releases that come out in those series that I have already talked about. So like the Babysitters Club graphic novel one that comes out. I also never got to the 3rd book in the Tita Rosie's Kitchen series, so that one's also on my priority list. I would actually really like to get through Ripley, Talented Mr. Ripley series. I have the next 2 of this as well that I own, and so I would like to get through the series. I think there's 5 books in total in the Talented Mr. Ripley. I really enjoyed book 1 and 2 when I read them, and so I just would like to continue on while I am still thinking about it. I love these covers. I don't know, the cartoonishness, but I don't know, I love them. I know that this year we're also focusing on trilogies for the Lizzie Faye's challenge, which I'm not necessarily doing, but I am interested in finishing off a bunch of books which happen to be trilogies. So I have the book in the Coastal Gardens, which is Deadly Shallows. That's an arc I need to read. I did not get to it in time. I have Manslaughter Park by the Tisra Price, which is in the Jane Austen Murder Mystery series. I think this is a trilogy of books. So very excited for that one. I think it comes out in June. Maya and the Lord of Shadows, which is by Rena Burton. And this one is also, I think, the third book in the trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I also have here another trilogy, which is this one. I have the first book right here. I have the third one, which I need to read somewhere. And you'll hear about all my problems with that in my book buying restrictions video. Anyways, this series, I have the third book, which is called Moonlight Over Paris. So I need to finish off this series, this trilogy. One series I will be finishing this year, or this upcoming year, is the Harry Hole series. So I'm reading this one with Berna and Nikki, and I'll link their channels down below as well. We read these ones we read this series every other month. We pick up the next book. So the next month we are reading The Phantom, or Phantom, in January, and we should be finished this series, I think, by September, if I am not mistaken. So yeah, we will be up to date with that series at the very least. Yeah, it's always fun reading with them, even if my enthusiasm is a little bit deteriorating for the series. Anyways, I want to finish off the last book in the Victorian Book Club series, which is The Murder or the Mystery of Alfred E. Finch by Callie Hutton. I would like to finish off that trilogy. I would like to work on Mistborn. I have the box set here, and I've only read the first one, which was Mistborn. And I need to read the next two. So this is like a big, hard challenge for me, because I'm kind of like, when will I have time to read such a big book? But I will make time, I promise. I would like to read Fatal Code, which is by Natalie Walters. I enjoy her books a lot. I just haven't gotten to the sequel in the series yet. And I also would like to read Shine the Light, which is by April McGowan, which is a book focusing on chronic illnesses or mental health. And I would really like to read the sequel to that duology. Then I'm not sure how much I want to commit to this series, but I would like to try to make progress in the Ian Rutledge series. So this one is by Charles Todd, and I have found I am lacking the enthusiasm to pick up those books. So it might be just I'm moving on from them, but I would like to try to get back into them and see if I am not interested anymore, or if I do want to keep going, because I have enjoyed their books in the past. It's a mother-son writing duo. She has since passed away, but like the last year she passed away. But every other book was written with the two of them, so I hope to read it now. I need to read the last book in the Sky King Ranch trilogy, which actually is the first book. I have read the last two, and I need to read book 3. Book 1 to finish off the third book. It's confusing. I don't know if I want to say this or not. I'm going to try to read the Iliad this year. It's technically, I think, a prequel to the Odyssey, but I've always heard that you should read the Odyssey first. So I'm going to try reading the Iliad this year, since I've already read the Odyssey. That's going to be a challenge. I'm still going to work on Cities of Refuge. Still going to work on it. I hope to work somewhat on it and get that series done. The 4th book in that series is an arc I own, so I need to work on that. I also have several Susan May Warren books from her different series, and I'd like to really work on those because I always enjoy them. I just don't prioritize them. So I'm going to really work on reading her books this coming year. They're all in series. And then I have a few other ones that I'm just going to see. But that's kind of what I'm aiming for as tentative priorities. I'm really just trying to work on this list. I think, let me just get the correct number. I have 39 books on this list. If I can get that list down to under 20, so if I read 20 books or 20 series and finish them off, so like, for example, when I read the Harry Hole books, Phantom is currently on that list. As soon as I finish Phantom, the next book will go on that list. So it's not like that list is going to go down in number unless I read the final book in that series. So I'm hoping I can get that list down to 19 books or less by the end of 2023. That is my tentative series goal. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But I have finished a good amount of series and books this year from series. Books this year that were in series. I'm so sorry. But I'm really hoping that this will continue on as a trend and I can really get through some of those that especially are arcs or books that I really need to just finish off and get done with because they've been sitting on my shelves for a while. So yes, I will hopefully work on that. Let me know down below if you have made a series goals video or if you have some goals for series yourselves. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. You can give it a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.